Alright guys, today we're taking a look at the Athearn -9 locomotives. These are 9-44CWs. They've been previously released and ready to roll, or ready to run, but they are now in Genesis. I think it's ready to roll. It's been a while. Anyway, these are Tsunami 2 LED equipped locomotives. As you can see, I've already been playing with a couple of them, but I will unbox one of them for the first time here on camera next. Alright, so if your dealer's good, they'll include the cardboard box if Athearn did, which they usually do. 75th anniversary logos on the box. Do not remember if that's this year or last year, but it's still in the box. A couple years ago, I don't recall. But Genesis manual here. Pages all the way up to 16. Going over DCC and sound functions. If you want to freeze your frame, you can see all the functions there. There's limited 1-year warranty. -9 exploded parts diagram with all the part names for stuff that could break on you. And you can order based on the corresponding number. And an Athearn News flyer inside here. Locomotive has some accessories in the bag here. There's a whole compartment in the bag, which is the first time I kind of seen that. And then there's roller bearings. So we'll pull this out, see what all that's about. Plastic blister packaging. Standard Athearn clamshell. It's been going on for a while with some soft plastic, and looks like they added truck immobilizers. I can tell you right off the bat this thing is heavy. I can also tell you right off the bat that we've lost a part, and I'll explain some of the broken parts later that I was seeing some consistencies with across a couple different locomotive unboxings. But let's go ahead and get this on a turntable and show you the detail. Right, I think I'm going to do a 2-for-1 here, so you get a different angle for each one. We're having a lot of issues with parts, and I'll get to that in a minute, but it doesn't necessarily an Athearn problem. I think this package was really roughly handled, but I'll talk about that in a moment. 9710's a UP locomotive, yellow sill, more modern, but not quite PTC era modern. But you have the anti-climber here with ditch lights below, LEDs on those ditch lights. Accessory hoses that are silver tipped ends. Windshield wipers. You've got a antenna there, another antenna, and separately applied grabs and sand filler hatches on the nose. Battery box doors. There's a UP shield there below 9710, Union Pacific. A little faded yellow, kind of almost ready to weather type of yellow. It's not as bright of a yellow as I've seen on previous Athearn runs of locomotives, but you know, they try to change and advance from time to time. Truck detail is really great, especially back here on this UP version. Look at that truck chain. That's a separately applied chain. And it's an actual chain. It's not a plastic mold or anything, and it's connected to the truck there. There's a lot of underbody detail, conduit and such that you could probably see right there, and then the jacking pad right where the chain connects to the chassis. Radiator fan grill area has a slight weathering. Athearn usually doesn't get credit for very much because it's kind of hard to see, but there's also the massive exhaust stack here, which is looks kind of large, but that's actually to scaled down correctly. I looked at some pictures to see how that looked. Brake wheel on the back. There's a nice tint to the cab window too that I like. It's not crazy dark. You could still put figures in there if you wanted to tear this thing apart and do that. Sand filler hatch in the back, LED lights, safety chain that is molded. Coupler cut lever, spare knuckle couplers, and McHenry couplers back here. You can see the C&W rear end as well. This is 8646. The reason I got 8646 and 8701, those are the last two C&W locomotives to run unpatched. before finally being repainted recently in the last few years. But there's 8646, and still the yellow sill, which is indicative of modern era, post 2006. But again, no PTC antenna arrays, because this was kind of wedged in between that era, I believe, unless they just never had them on these locomotives, which is a possibility. It's nothing I could really find on the internet regarding that. I'm sure in the comments somebody will correct me. Jacking pad here and truck detail on the C&W is a little different. I don't believe it has a truck chain, because Athearn's pretty good about... Oh, maybe it does, yeah. I guess I was going to say I didn't think it was truck chain on those, but it is there, so my mistake. But again, another truck chain, a little harder to see because it's black. But there's the C&W in all its glory, 8646. I also have 8701 here sitting on the side. And I'll show you all 5 schemes here in a second. Alright, here's a look of the 5 schemes, or 5 different variations I got my hands on. And I will tell you, number 9719 has to go back because it is not responding to anything with sounds. Everything else is working. But, you know, I did a 360 on these locomotives, but I will tell you that on a couple of them, there's been some parts that have popped off that is not indicative of what I've seen in Athearn before. So it makes me wonder, with one locomotive not working, with parts off of 3 other locomotives, if maybe the post office played some soccer with the package. So I don't default in blaming the manufacturer. I just let you guys know that when you unbox a locomotive, you should test it. And some people have asked that I do a video on that, but it's pretty common sense. You put it, if it's a DCC locomotive, you're going to put it on, make sure it lights, works, runs forward and backwards, sounds work. And in the case of 9719, the sounds didn't work, so that's going to go back. However, all these other ones are good. A couple parts, though. Snowplow on one of them, and the mirror, I believe it is, on the cab. Usually sits right here, has popped off of a couple of them. But again, kind of tells me something was roughly handled. So, with that said, let's get into operation. I'm going to go ahead and apply track power here. Listen to the bell and horn. Okay, we're going to fire up ditch lights. Looks like I just killed the sound by accident. Oop, there we go. Thought it was F5 or F6, but I believe it was F5. Direction. There's the ditch lights, nice and bright. Blow the horn to see if they stay steady. That's good. Let's go ahead and check the speed. There's 1 speed step. It's going pretty quick out of the gate at 1 speed step. So it's definitely smooth. Partially because it's moving pretty quickly, but back up these auto racks here and we'll do an AccuTrack test. Okay, 1 speed step. Now, wait a minute, let me check this because... Well, that one was my fault too. I was going at 1 speed step, but on 128. So this is 1 speed step at the correct. That was on 28. This is on 128. So a lot slower speed control. Still getting used to this NCE Pro Cab setup. But we're testing this out so we get an accurate scale mile per hour on here. It is moving right along, so I'm guessing it'll be around 1. But we'll see. any second now. Beeler. Okay, wow, 1.0 right on the dot, so perfect speed control if you were to ask me. That is 1 out of 128, and that's right on the dot. So, apologies earlier, because that was at a 28 speed test, but at least you got to see how that moves at 28. Now, we still need to go in reverse. And there's one speed step in reverse, again very smooth. And if you get a close look, you can see the truck, roller bearing going round and round there. That's pretty cool as well. Hear the whoop of that air compressor going on. So many sounds in this thing. 28 functions with lots of sounds. Cab chatter you can hear going off a little bit as well. Let's take a look at this thing in the dark. Alright, we're completely dark here, and you do have walkway lighting, which I believe is the first time I've seen in a Genesis locomotive. But I could be way back and behind on this, but it's center and above the ditch lights there. There's a little dot right below the headlight and below the chain. Got lit number boards. The flicker you may be seeing is from LEDs, which is just the frame rate not matching with the camera. It is not flickering in real life. And then there is a slight, looks like truck light as well. Back a little further above the trucks, helps the crew see where if the ground's moving at night or in low light situations and such when it's hard to tell. Now as you can see, there's no UP logo on the side. That was as 9702 was for quite a while, and maybe still is, I can't remember. And Building America is on the side right there, but everything looks good in terms of detail. We can just keep them on, but that's the battle with so many different brands. Anytime the post office wants to play soccer with your locomotive box. So here's 8701. We didn't cover some of the details, you know, the nice radiator fan grills are separately applied and nicely done. There's nice compartment detail here as well. But I just wanted to make sure you guys could hear the different horn and bells. Sometimes are different based on the type of locomotive, era, or road name, etc. But yeah, these are really good locomotives from what I'm seeing. Very responsive to the DCC commands at Tsunami 2, and I did a whole series on Tsunami 2. Bell's a little, I don't know, original Tsunami it sounds like to me, but it's got a really nice speaker configuration, so it sounds pretty good. And one way you can really tell if the horn is responsive or not is shaving a haircut. So that tells you how responsive it is to DCC commands there. I'll be robbing you guys if I didn't tell you the weight. 1 pound 6 ounces. 1 pound 5.9 ounces technically. It's 21.9 ounces, 620 grams. Athearn's definitely stepped up their weight game, that's for sure. We'll do a pull test real quick too to show you that. Okay, pull test is all set up and ready to go. I'll power this on. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'll try to. Tilt it once it caps out here. It's like 3.1. Oops, and just let go, but 3.1 is about 45, 46 freight cars per locomotive, so 2 locomotives, you're pulling a realistic length consist. Well, there you have the Dash 9. There's BC Rail and a bunch of other ones I didn't cover as well, but I wanted to show you guys, mostly UP fans on my channel, what you get from Athearn Dash 9. Now, Overall, my thoughts are it's a solid locomotive if UPS would just behave, or USPS would just behave. But overall, pretty pleased with the execution of this locomotive, the detail, the smooth drive. I mean, one speed step is 1 mile an hour. You can't get better than that. 1 scale mile an hour. So, pretty happy overall. So with that said, thanks for watching, guys. I would leave you with a run-by now that we have power on this section of the layout, but I'm filming how to build a layout from start to finish for Train World TV later tonight, and I really need to get that going next. So, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on my channel. Take care.